This flat steel sheet looks like nothing, but in just a few hours, it will become the roof of someone's home. And what happens in between, nobody has ever shown you. Have you ever looked at a metal roof and asked yourself, how is it born? Not installed, not placed, born. Because that metal doesn't leave the factory already shaped. It starts its life as a simple flat sheet, cold, rigid, formless. And yet, this sheet will go through a series of transformations so precise, so technical, so breathtaking, that even engineers stand in awe watching the process. Stay until the end, because the last step will completely change the way you look at every single roof you'll ever see again. It all starts here. A steel coil, sometimes up to 10 tons of metal rolled onto itself. But this isn't ordinary steel. It has been cold rolled, a process that compresses the metal to a precision of a few tenths of a millimeter. Why? Because a roof isn't just about looks. It's about survival against the elements. Rain, snow, hail, violent wind. This metal must withstand all of that for decades. So you don't just pick any sheet. You choose a galvanized or pre-coated sheet, covered in a thin layer of zinc or industrial oven-baked paint. That invisible layer, that's what gives it 40, 50, sometimes 60 years of life. Now that you know where the metal comes from, let's see what they put it through. The coil is loaded onto an industrial uncoiler. The metal unfolds slowly, like a giant scroll. But hold on, this sheet isn't ready to use yet. It first needs to be leveled. Straightening rollers force it through to eliminate every ripple, every internal tension built up during winding. A poorly leveled sheet, that's a roof that will buckle, that will leak, that will fail. Leveling is the invisible foundation of everything that follows. Then comes the cutting. An industrial guillotine drops with surgical precision. Clack. The sheet is sliced to the exact dimensions of the project. Not a millimeter too long, not a millimeter too short, because in metal construction, mistakes don't get fixed. They get paid for. This is the moment you've been waiting for. The flat sheet enters a machine called a roll-forming mill. Inside, a series of hardened steel rollers, positioned in pairs. Each pair bends the metal just slightly, then the next pair a little more. Then again. This is called progressive forming. And this is where physics becomes fascinating. The metal forgets its original shape. It accepts the new one. Ribs are created. Waves take form. Peaks and valleys appear, meter after meter. These shapes aren't there to look good. Every single rib is engineered to distribute loads. So snow doesn't bow the roof. So wind doesn't lift the panels. So rainwater is guided exactly where it needs to go. You used to look at a metal roof as just a cover. Now you know it's engineered steel in action. The profile is formed. But we're not done. Each panel now goes through punching. Holes are perforated at the exact locations for future fixings. Too tight, the metal deforms. Too wide, it tears apart under wind load. The tolerance game here is measured in hundredths of a millimeter. Then the edges. Each edge of the sheet is rolled, folded, or seamed depending on the chosen assembly system. Some metal roofs use a standing seam system. Panels lock into each other with 0 visible bolts. The result? A roof of absolute watertightness. Clean, elegant, indestructible. If you find this process as fascinating as I do, subscribe right now. Because every week, we break down the industrial manufacturing processes nobody ever explains to you. Hit the bell. You won't regret it. You think the color of a metal roof is just about aesthetics? Wrong. The industrial paint applied to these sheets is a multi-layer protection system. First, a primer coat for adhesion and corrosion resistance. Then a finishing coat, resistant to UV rays, thermal shocks, and atmospheric pollution. Some finishes reflect up to 70% of solar heat, which means a cooler home in summer, a lower energy bill, a roof that works for you even at 100 degrees. Before these panels ever leave the factory, they go through the most brutal test: bending resistance tests, waterproofing tests under pressure, simulated snow load resistance tests, extreme wind resistance tests at hurricane-level speeds. Every panel must pass. Not a single one can fail, because what leaves this factory is going to protect a family, is going to shelter children sleeping through the rain, is going to stand strong against storms for decades. This isn't just manufacturing. This is responsibility. The next time you see a metal roof, you won't just see metal anymore. You'll see a 10-ton coil that was transformed. You'll see thousands of engineering calculations embedded in every single curve. You'll see invisible protection working 24 hours a day. And you'll remember what you learned right here. The strongest things are born from the most demanding transformations. Just like this roof. Just like you. If this video taught you something you didn't know this morning, like it right now, that's the best way to tell me. Drop a comment below. What manufacturing material has always intrigued you? I'll turn it into the next video. And if you want to keep seeing the world differently, subscribe. The next video is coming very soon. And I promise you, it's going to change your perspective all over again.